name is Lieutenant Commander Ryan McCue. I'm a MH-65 aircraft commander stationed at Forward Operating Base Point Mccue, located on Naval Base Ventura County.
Now, Forward Operating Base, so you guys were at LAX for years.
That's true. So the Coast Guard was at LAX up until 2016, at which point we had to shut down our air station to, I guess, make way for airport development and expansion at the airport. And so the Coast Guard's interim solution while we tried to figure out a new place to put our air station was to fold all the people, personnel, and aircraft from LAX, or Air Station LA, into San Francisco. But we ran into one kind of logistical issue that we still had to maintain all our response times at the Southern California area. So what we did was we opened up a forward operating base at Naval Station Point Mccue that would be staffed by Air Station San Francisco pilots and air crew. So our crews and pilots come down for 2-week deployments where they do a day on, day off, and we have 2 aircraft that are always forward deployed down to Point Mccue, and those crews are supplemented by a force of about 20 personnel who are permanently assigned there, myself included.
Now, how many Dolphins do we have assigned?
So Air Station San Francisco has 7 MH-65 Dolphin aircraft, of which 2 are always deployed down here. Under certain circumstances, we can deploy more down here. With the recent hurricane we had back in August, we kind of plussed up the numbers down here just in case we had it in response structure. But our normal force structure is to have 2 at the forward operating base and usually 5 at the air station in San Francisco.
Now, what happened to the base SAR at Point Mccue that were flying the CH-46s? What happened to those guys?
I don't know.
So you guys just replaced them, right?
Probably, yeah.
So if there are any incidents that occur at the Naval Air Station, you guys obviously will respond, right?
Yeah, so we are kind of the alert aircraft for any of the naval or other DoD assets that utilize the MUGU training ranges. So it's actually pretty common. We'll get calls from whether it's our Air Force partners or even foreign partners and kind of ask us about our search and rescue capabilities as they're doing operations out over the ocean. So yeah, we're kind of the primary response for that.
And let's talk about the range of this aircraft. So what are we looking at? How far?
So the MH-65 is the Coast Guard's short-range recovery aircraft. So it's a little bit shorter than what our brothers and sisters in the Coast Guard H-60 can do. Generally, we can fly for about 2 hours. So if you want to kind of put it into like a SAR case scenario, generally I would say we could go about maybe anywhere from 60 to 80 miles offshore, be on scene for about 20 minutes, executing rescues, and then return to our point of origin.
Interesting. And let's talk about the crew configuration. So, co-pilot, pilot, and a rescue swimmer in the back?
Yeah, so for our normal SAR configuration, we have 2 pilots, usually an aircraft commander, and then a co-pilot. We have a flight mechanic or crew chief that sits behind them that operates some of the radios and our rescue hoist. And then we have our rescue swimmer who also sits, that will be the one kind of going into the water and affecting the rescue.
So normal crew configuration are 4 people on board?
Yep. But what's kind of unique about this aircraft is it is rated for single pilot IFR operation. So our minimum crew can just be 1 pilot and 1 air crew member.
Wow, that's good news.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So how many? So if you have something offshore and you got to rescue some people, what's the total capacity of passengers in the back?
So it's not so much a volume question, more a weight question.
Right.
We're extremely weight limited, just with our normal crew complement. What I've been kind of telling the folks who've been coming around today is if we were to take off with our normal crew and normal equipment, we can only take about 75% of the fuel that the aircraft is capable of holding. So generally, for most cases, we could probably, just because of a fuel and weight limit, maybe about 2 adult survivors is kind of what we're looking at.
Wow.
But obviously, we have some capabilities that we can affect that. If we get on scene and we have the range, we actually have the ability that we can jettison fuel to get down to a layer weight. And obviously, in extringent circumstances, we can take equipment out, kick it out the door, if it comes down to saving a life.
Okay, so let's talk about this aircraft. Who makes it?
So it's made by, it was originally made by Aerospatiale, which was a French company. Now it's Airbus Helicopters. So it was French designed, but built in Grand Prairie, Texas. So it's under the Airbus Helicopter umbrella.
And the U.S. Coast Guard took delivery of this aircraft when?
Basically in the mid-'80s. I think the first delivery was around 1985, and we got them over a 5 to 6 year period. So this particular aircraft's about 30 years old, 30 plus years old, and has around 20,000 hours on it.
And what are we looking at? Is it going to remain in service for how long? Do we know?
So we just upgraded to the latest model, the Echo model. So this is the 5th iteration of the Dolphin helicopter. So it has a glass cockpit, RNAV capability, kind of state-of-the-art late 90s technologies in it now. It will remain in the Coast Guard fleet, or the Dolphin overall will remain in the Coast Guard fleet for at least another decade or so.
Oh, wow.
But the Coast Guard's working towards getting a single airframe fleet for a number of reasons. This isn't really logistically being supported by Airbus anymore, and just for some fleet commonality, and also to take advantage of some of the performance improvements that the 60 offers over the 65.
Right. Interesting. Now let's talk about the tail rotor system.
Yep.
Pros, cons?
So everyone kind of can hear us coming with the Fenestron thing. We kind of have a loud whine compared to other helicopters. I'm not an aerodynamicist, but basically there are some efficiencies that are by having an enclosed tail rotor, as far as the tip vortices and everything like that. So I think it was just a design philosophy that Eurocopter created, and they see some benefits to it. So, and as far as flight performance that we feel, it feels very similar to any other, rotor wing aircraft.
Glass cockpit. Let's talk about that.
Yep.
Pros, cons?
So the glass cockpit's fairly new to us. It's a great pro. It gives us incredible situational awareness. We have movie map displays. We can display terrain. We can display airports.
Oh, wow.
The RNAV capability is a really great feature.
Wow.
Something that we haven't been used to be able to shoot RNAV approaches. Is great for our mission set because a lot of time we're going to remote areas and we might be flying into more smaller remote airports in bad weather for fuel that aren't serviced by your traditional instrument approaches, your ground-based instrument approaches. So having the RNAV capability now is a great capability enhancement that we have.
Cool. Now let's talk about yourself. Tell me your history. Where were you born, raised?
Yep. So I was born and raised in Littleton, Colorado, and then New Jersey. I went to the Coast Guard Academy, graduated in 2009. I was fortunate enough that I was able to go straight from the academy to flight school. Got my wings in 2011.
Flight school, Pensacola?
Yep, so all Coast Guard aviators go through naval flight training, so we do the same pipeline and start out in primary training flying a fixed wing aircraft, which is now the T6. Then you move on to rotary wing, at least if you go the helicopter route, flying the Jet Ranger. So I got my wings. Then from the Coast Guard we go and you fly 6 weeks, a transition course to learn how to fly the 65. And you come out a very basic qualified co-pilot. And then from there, like the next 2 years is more on-the-job training to get all your subsequent calls and designations. So I spent 5 years in Houston, Texas at the air station there. Got picked up for Coast Guard Aeronautical Engineering, which is kind of a subset career track that you can go on as a Coast Guard pilot. As an aeronautical engineer, you're more in charge of the maintenance side of things. So it's kind of unique compared to other services where our maintenance officers are also our flyers. So we kind of handle all the maintenance. Not necessarily like the day-to-day how to perform things, but workforce management is what it kind of comes down to. So my last year there, I got designated that. Then I spent 4 years at Atlantic City. So that air station does a bit of a unique mission for the Coast Guard. It does search and rescue, but it also does rotary wing air intercept. So we work very closely with the Air Force and the DoD and the NORAD for the Operation Noble Eagle, which is the DoD's operation to protect America's airspace. So we do a lot of flying in around the National Capital Region, protecting that airspace, as well as traveling with the President at the request of the Secret Service, protecting the airspace around where he or she might travel. So,
do you carry any armament when you guys do that?
We don't, no. So what we're generally there for is an information collecting thing. We're intended to kind of intercept low, slow-flying aircraft. Think, a GA pilot and his Cessna who wandered into a TFR without knowing he was there. So we will actually go out there, intercept him, try and gather as much information as we can about the suspected target of interest, and then relay that information to decision makers.
No chaff flare? None of that?
Nothing like that.
Okay.
So we do have a signaling board on there. It's basically an enlarged board that you would see on a city bus, and we can do messages along that.
Really?
It's not located on this one, but yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so we basically train to fly maneuvers where we'll come alongside the pilot off their left side, and we'll signal them both using ICAO international intercept signals, and then that board to hopefully gain communication with them, alert them that they're in a restricted area, and hopefully gain compliance where we can get them out of the restricted area.
Interesting. That's something I've never heard before ever. That's amazing. Time in service, what do we got?
So I think I'm coming up on about 14 years. I've been at my current unit, Point MUGU, for the last 3 years, due to rotate next year. I think I'm finally going to have to bite the bullet and go to a staff job and get out of the cockpit. But yeah, no, and basically here we do a lot of search and rescue, and we're at kind of a unique spot because we'll actually be building a new air station. Well, the construction's almost done, but there will be a new air station commissioned at Point MUGU that will take over from the forward operating base we talked about, where it will be called Air Station Ventura. It'll be a 3 Hilo H-60 unit that's due to commission next summer.
Wow, see, that's good news. I didn't know that either. Well, it's a staff job, and then what? You'll hit your 20 years, and you'll...
Yeah, so probably a staff job, and then maybe one last flying tour, either as an air station engineering officer, who's kind of the head of all aircraft maintenance, or maybe even an executive officer position, just based on seniority and how things kind of work out.
And you'll end up planning on retiring where?
I think so. I don't know. So
back to New Jersey?
Maybe. We really enjoy California. Still not quite sure what I want to do when I grow up and have to get a real job. But we enjoy our time here, so I think it'll just be, it depends where the Coast Guard sends us next.
All right, Ryan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
and thank you for your service.